Hello, everybody. This is the community read again. And guys, I'm going to introduce Mr. Solomon Tate, who needs no introduction. He's world renowned. Mr. Marcel, the GOAT. I, um, this is another episode of Community Read. Um, we've discussed before or went in some detail last time that it is important to me, the leader or the proxy of the community read, that we not only speak to the black community, but heal the black community. And in order for that to take place, there are several things that need to be addressed. We have to address the trauma that the black community has gone through. We have to address the plight, the financial plight, and we have to also address the lack of a plan. And also, I'll be remiss if I don't mention um, the framework that was already placed for the black community, which is mainly us accepting it is one of the biggest problems in our community. So in any event, there are a couple things we're going to do. We're going to talk about a few things, but we're also going to address my book, aptly named From Poverty to Purpose. It is a book that I've been working on, or that has been in me for probably 20 years. It speaks about my ups and downs in business and in life. It speaks about me running from God or thinking I'm running from God when in reality I was running from the trauma of religion. So we're going to address that, and we have both of these gentlemen are my mentees in life, and I'm proud to say that. But Mr. Marcel is um, a beneficiary of helping me write this book. He is the editor and chief of the book. And I felt it beneficial to have him on tonight to kind of address this process. You know, it's been a funny process. It hadn't really been a long process. It seems like it had, but it hadn't. And we've gotten a lot done over a short period of time. I believe something that I tell both of these gentlemen, that it was easy to write because it's who I am. It's how I live every day. It's what I do. It's how I talk. These guys will tell you I talk like this all the time. You know, Marcel and I might be writing the book, and I might just stroll off into
Yeah.
a lesson because it's just who I am, right? You know, it's hard to fake who you are. You know what I'm saying? Eventually, you gonna come out. So in any event, we're glad to have Marcel on tonight. If Marcel, you can introduce yourself,
hmm
and we'll talk a little bit about the book, and then well, before we talk about the book, after you introduce yourself, we'll have Mr. Taven Reed introduce himself.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm Marcel. Got wind of Mr. Reed
Oh, he
actually
doesn't have
going
a
through
last name, so we just gonna go with Marcel. Okay, go ahead.
Marcel McDonald.
Okay, thank you.
You welcome. But yeah, I got wind of Mr. Reed on TikTok, just scrolling, actually going through my storm. And it was a pleasure just to come across his information and actually find somebody who has a similar thought process as me, who is actually older than me, that I know has wisdom as well. So yeah, that's me, and I'm thankful for Mr. Reed for letting me help him write this book. Because in all honesty, y'all, it helped me a lot in a very short time, to be honest.
That's true, and I'm not bragging on myself. I'm just saying what's true. Like literally, this guy, Solomon, you heard me, and I know Marcel heard me. I'm a negotiator. Never say no. Say what's next. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And basically, if you don't mind me telling this story, Marcel, he put himself in place. Obviously, he had skills, but he put himself in place and said, "Look, I'll help you," and basically negotiated himself into mentee. I mean, mentor. I really right sooner or later. And it has been a pleasure, man. An amazing young man, and he is right. He grasped really quick, and then just everything went off from there. And as you said, he's had some struggles in his life. and I've been fortunate to watch him overcome
Yeah.
it. So yeah, it's been a pleasure for me too. Solomon has a new haircut and he's looking good, so we're gonna let him go next.
Solomon, let's go.
Yep. I had to make sure. I had to make sure. I had to make sure. But like Mr. Reed mentioned, we don't no need for a lengthy introduction. But Solomon here, being a part of the community read, similar to Marcel, I came across Mr. Reed on TikTok. You know, similar mindset, just from an older gentleman, and I figured, why not come together and grow my mindset to be like what Mr. Reed is pushing out. The information's great, straight to the point, no sugar quoting, and it's what I need. It's what majority of our people need to hear.
So
So.
let me ask you a question. I mean, this is from my own perspective, and
Mhm.
Solomon knows that I do this from time to time. What have you gained from my mentor? And this ain't a sales pitch. This is just for me to glorify God, honestly.
So it's been a means for me to ground myself, to be more well grounded, and also to experience peace and know that at the end of the day I have to be myself. That's one of the main things: being yourself, getting to know God, and being yourself. Because you can get to know God, but you're not yourself. That can't go together. You have to get to know yourself.
So the scenario isn't just God. You can't just have God. You can't just follow after God and then just everything goes right. So you got to know yourself.
Yep, you got to know yourself. Because if you don't know yourself, you're not gonna know when God is trying to show you who you are.
That's
You
good.
know, you you
That is
you
good.
not you can't you
All
can't
right,
you
put
can't
that in
just.
the next book. Go ahead, Solomon. I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
You're all good. I'm looking for you to introduce yourself again and put out the information, and we can talk about this book. I have it seems like a long time because I have waited for a very very long time to get a copy of this book. So I'm actually glad we get to talk about it today and getting it and put out the information to other people
So
as well.
basically, what Solomon is saying is, Negro, you've taken too long, heard too little. He said it very, uh, 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 he articulated it very well, but that's what he meant. So Marcel, we're gonna ask you since you are the editor and chief uh, of From Poverty to Purpose, which is
Yes,
amazing.
sir.
So tell me, the first thing I want to know, what do you think about the book in reality?
In reality, the book is it's a beautiful book because, and especially for our people, because we're just not aware of a lot of things we should actually be aware of, even when it comes down to just simply your trauma. I remember yesterday, I think you made a video on TikTok about even knowing who your enemies are.
Mhm.
I think a lot of us think of things physically, and we always miss the forest and the trees. We just look at things on a not a broad level, but just too narrow. It's not broad. It's not broad enough.
Mm.
So even with trauma and understanding that people who do cause harm physically, I mean, not physically, emotionally, are
Yeah.
also enemies. But we're
Yeah.
taught to like accept people for who they are, or that's your XYZ. So you should just, and that's not the case all the
So we are too tolerant and we don't understand the effects of. I was thinking about something today, and I was working out and I lost my debit card.
time.
What's funny is first of all, I know the people that own the bank, and the bank is right next to the where we work where I was working out at. This Hispanic guy called me on TikTok, not on TikTok, on he looked my company's on the card, right? So he looks on the card, he goes to LinkedIn, and he finds me. He leaves his number. I'm like, dang, that's because I thought I just left it at home, right?
Mm,
So here we go. You guys know that I've been giving this whole spiel about Hispanics, and for some reason, it sounds like that I'm speaking negatively about a group of people. I'm not. What I'm doing is I'm pointing out realities that exist. Okay. Unfortunately, just like some of our people have, some Hispanics have chosen to accept a philosophy and a perspective that diminishes black people. And I'm unfortunately, if excuse me, unfortunately, I'm not willing to accept that. So we do have a sector. So that's kind of what you're referring to, Marcel, because we have sects of people that accept discrimination,
Hmm.
accept unrealistic perspectives. Let me give you an example. Okay, um, it's not by chance the Hispanic employment community or employable community has grown so fast because all they do is hire one another. Okay, so when you say I'm going to allow this level of that level of discrimination, then what you're saying is, okay, I'm going to set my kid back from even getting a job. I'm going to push him back even further. This is why I say all the time, and I used to piss some of my contemporary black brothers off when I would say this.
Hmm.
I would say, you know why you don't get a loan from a bank? Because you don't know anybody. And they were like, oh, Juan, my credit is great. I said, man, you're talking about line items. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about relationships.
Yeah.
So think about this. The Hispanic community is allowed to make vocational relationships, community relationships, because now we buying houses, financial relationships, because now they can buy cars, they can finance things,
Hmm.
all this other stuff. While we're being pushed back. Now, when you add a prejudicial mindset to that says we have to actively, even though we know we aren't, no one is elite over anybody. There's just together. And that's partly what the book is about. I don't want to go into too much.
Hmm.
And that's what the read is about. It's about a monolith, one group. Not in no group, all people are together. So that's by no means what the community read is, or even what our thought process is. But there is this baseline group that you have to have in every community.
Yeah.
That's called a monolithic economy. Okay, Caucasian groups have it, Asian groups have it, Hispanic groups have it. The black community doesn't have it. We just involve ourselves in other groups' economies.
Yep.
And what I'm suggesting is that obviously we do that, but let's also make something that we can sell to other communities, and that is the community REIT. But it's not just the community REIT, it's other ideas that blacks have that we can invest in, Solomon, that we can invest in, Marcel, and help grow those things. So some of you would ask, and I'm not going to go into this too much because we're talking about the book, why so many investors, Mr. Reed? There's so many investors, Mr. Reed, because with 40,000 investors at small margins, we can lay an investment right there, watch it work, and then look at other investments. So let's say some brothers. Look, my background is construction. My background is development. But let's say a brother comes along, and he has, and I mean a black man comes along, and he has a background in investment banking, and he says, "Well, why don't we wrap this up or branch off from the community REIT perspective and start some investment banking?" Okay, um, those are the type of ideas that will move the black community together, and also investing in Africa. Africa is one of is going to be the biggest investment the world has ever seen outside of outer space. That's why they're coming to Africa last, and they're talking about it's amazing. Now, coming to Africa, then they're gonna go to outer space. Okay, but Africa is the last bastion on Earth. So I'm going to transition back in the book and let Marcel answer that question I asked him earlier.
What was that again? Can you expand on
The question was, from your perspective, what do you really think of the book,
it? Okay.
and uh, what are the main perspectives that you walked away with that would help you in life?
Okay. So the main ones I have would be one, we have a concept in there about circular reasoning. Two would be art of war, and um, it's a specific statement in there that I think is pivotal for us as Black people. Three is when things go wrong, how to sit in them, and
Mm.
the last one would be actuation.
Say that again. I'm glad I heard.
Actuation,
Okay. Can you expound on what that is?
actuation,
Yes.
actuation is taking in what you learn and actually applying real, real tangible plans and perspectives into what you're doing. If I can expound on that, Mr. Reed.
Go ahead.
So we live in the age of social media, so everything seems so readily available for us. Especially, like me and Solomon age, everything is just quick. And I can honestly attest to this as well. Just trying to do things, trying to create businesses and seeing people do it and how fast, they come with you with the marketing scheme. Make this much in 30 days and all this. And if you're not aware, you may fall for it. But in all honesty, things really do take time
That's right.
and they take a plan. And it takes you actually creating a plan, strategizing, and doing those things to help you bring that into fruition.
That's good. That is good. That's exactly right. I like that. That's exactly right. So tell me about this thing. Well, anyway, I'm not going to answer my question you have for me.
Okay.
I'm going to step away from that. And Solomon has some
Yep.
questions that I
I,
want him to ask you.
Okay.
And then I know you have some questions for me you want me to at least expound on. So
Okay.
yep. Yep.
pray about that while y'all.
For sure.
Yep. So I know this project has been around for a couple weeks, couple months.
hmm
You just talked about actuation. How in the book, since you put together the book, how is it put together so our people can understand it and know how to actually to apply it?
The way it's put together is really Mr. Reed telling you his life experiences in certain situations to where he could now look back and see where he may should have did one thing and didn't, and just continuing to expound on like having a plan. Like we have something there also about 5P, prayer, persistence. I forgot the rest, but it's been a
Prayer,
while.
prayer,
Prayer, persistence,
planning, persistence, perseverance.
perseverance. Yeah, but all that goes in together with actuation and actually like getting it out your mind and having a real structure to actually put it in fruition instead of just thinking about all the stuff and not able to actuate on it. Because that's the thing. Us as Black people, we really do know a lot. Even a lot of the stuff Mr. Reed has said, I've heard people say it before, but there's no backing to it. It has no spine. So
Yep.
it's like, yeah, I'm hearing this, but how am I supposed to put it in action?
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
And to me, a lot of it has to do. That's a good question, Solomon. I think a lot of it has to do also with you can't develop processes without actuation. There are no processes. Okay, you'd like to think that processes exist before you start. Uh, Examples of processes exist. Okay, somebody can tell you how to do something. You can go to school to learn how to do it, right?
Correct. Yep.
But until you do it, you can't develop your own process. You know, there's something you guys will learn as we develop the hotel business is that every hotel group has the same process. What do I mean by that? A hotel pretty much functions the same, but it's the small details within your individual processes that makes your business work for your portfolio. As we'll learn as we move forward, I hope one day you guys have a portfolio where you can understand what your portfolio is. Right now, your portfolio is your car, things like that. Most of the stuff in your portfolio now isn't an asset, okay? But you have to start from that perspective. My portfolio defines what I can do and what I can't do in life. Some people, the only portfolio you have is your credit
Yeah.
right now. You understand what I'm
Yeah.
saying? But in order to actuate something, you have to have something to actuate on. And as you said previously, for 54 in September, I've never heard black people with a plan. Ever. We sit around talking, well, we're going to do this. I'm talking about brilliant men.
Yep.
I'm like, dude, doctor this and this. Okay, but after we finish, all we do is go home and have a good meal.
Yeah.
And I don't want to. I can cook. I actually know fine restaurants. I like fine restaurants, but I like a plan. See, one of the things I implemented, and Solomon will tell you this because we're actually still working on his, and I push him every time we meet. You got to have a life plan. You have to have a lifetime plan. And I've seen other of my mentees, and also including myself, when you have a life plan, all you do throughout your life is make small adjustments. And it's not just consistency. Consistency is the base characteristic of movement. Okay?
Yeah.
Well, stop saying, oh, consistent is key. No, perseverance is key.
Yeah.
Because perseverance has internal processes. Okay? Um, Solomon, you're getting your PhD in what again is it? In
Strategic leadership.
oh my God.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So you can't be a strategic leader unless you have what?
Yeah,
Strategies.
strategy. Yep.
Not just strategy. Strategy is just a word. You have to have strategies. So essentially, what are strategies? Processes.
Processes.
This is how I address this. This is how I address this. This is how I address this. So you never see that in the black community, even though we have, as Marcel said so eloquently, very intelligent people. So partly what I do is, um, well, I'm not going to go into that. I'm jumping the gun because he has some more
so
questions to
so
ask.
let's come back to the book, right? And
Okay.
Mr. Reed, I'll direct this one to you because you're Marcia. I still got questions for you, but I'm gonna direct this one to Mr. Reed.
Okay.
So how do you think this book is going to help our people with
Man.
changing, our thought process, getting out of circular reasoning and all that?
Hmm. I think first of all, let me say that what Marcel said uh, is profound. To hear a young man say that peace is the most important thing, even though he didn't use those words, to slow things down, to move slowly, to get. Okay, he said that twice. He said when I asked him the first question, he said that, and then he just said it again. I think that's the first part. We have to recognize that this isn't going to take a short period of time.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You and I would like it to, okay, but it's not going to take a short period of time. And I don't think it's education. I think we already had the education, but I think it's self evaluation. See, people say self awareness, but you can't really be self aware until you self evaluate, until you look at yourself. You have to see something wrong.
Yeah.
And if I'm being honest, specifically when I talk to young people online and even in real life, they don't see anything wrong.
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
these things that exist, this separation between culture, they're not trying to bring it together, and they don't understand. And this is what they miss: we're in competition. They don't get it because other communities make them think they're not in competition with them until they get the award. When they have the award, look, I was magna cum laude. You
Mhm.
know, and you're like, okay, well, what is that? Most people don't even know what that means, right? You take our people, like, this guy got decent grade, I got C's, but okay, what is that? Okay, you got that award, but what does that mean? That means that I'm going to a better school than you are.
Mhm.
That means I have a foothold in front. And I think that's one of the first things that black people need to understand. They need to understand that we're in competition with other cultures. No matter what they say and whatever, no matter what excuse my vernacular, but the Bible says, okay? We are in competition with other groups. I'm saying I'm making the announcement right now. Listen, just the dissemination of the fact that I'm black, you white, that guy's yellow, this person's brown. I mean, or whatever you want to call them. Just the fact that those words exist, okay, denotes that there's separation.
Correct.
Okay?
Yeah.
Any form of separation, okay, purposeful separation, has to include competition. So in other words, we're at odds from the beginning, right? Whether we want a perfect world where it's not, it still is. So that's the
Yep.
first thing, Tom. I got to recognize we're competing with other cultures.
Hmm.
The second part of it is we have to dismiss fighting other people's demons. We have to dismiss fighting. We got to cease doing it. It's unfortunate, but we were an enslaved people, not just here, but all over the world. And we don't need to tear that apart. That has been torn apart to the most minute degree. Now we need to understand what we need to do from this point. How are we going to move forward? We need to mitigate, or excuse me, we need to incinerate.
Right.
Yeah.
We need to incinerate our differences
Mhm.
and just love each other as we exist. Okay? You don't have to be, look, you don't understand something. You can't give anybody perspective. You have many people that don't believe in other people simply because they don't have the belief system. Okay, you don't believe this and that. Hold on a second. You're fighting over separation that we didn't give ourselves, not even real separation.
Mhm.
Yep. Yep.
Yep.
Somebody integrated this. How can other groups who gave us this get along in it and we can't? You got brothers arguing over Islam. And Islam had, look, I'm going to be honest with you. There are amazing perspective and concepts in religious books. We've all learned a bunch of them.
Mhm.
But the fact is, as a body of people, religion hadn't benefited us at all. Okay. So the other part is that there are foundational characteristics that exist in society that doesn't benefit us. We have to do away with. Okay? I didn't say keep a little bit of them. I said we have to do away with. Okay. Um, Black people need to be able to see themselves without other people. So when I say truly be able to look at yourself, you have to truly look at ourselves.
Yep.
And then we have to do another part of that, another perspective. We have to measure ourselves. We have to see what we are. The only true understanding of who you are is a true measurement of yourself. If I live in a doghouse that's uh, 50 by 50, I live in a doghouse that's 50 by 50.
Yep.
I can go online and say, I live in a mansion.
Mhm.
Because of reality, right?
Yep.
And I'll tell anybody that's watching me, this is just expound on it. Your reality is what it is in most people's lives about their reality. Okay. Um, you don't become a billionaire overnight. It takes a long time. I know a few billionaires. It's taken them a long time to get there. So the first thing we need to do, I believe, Solomon, is become aware of ourselves through self-evaluation.
Yep. That's very important. That's very important. I'm glad that that's in the book and we can read it and see for ourselves because we talk we call it these days game. Like there's so much game
Yeah.
in our community, but there's no plan. There's no game plan, but there's game, no game plan.
Exactly. Exactly. So
Yep.
look, if there's no teammates, ain't no game.
No game. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We won't have a team because we don't
Yep.
have a plan.
Ain't no
So,
ball.
and literally, I'll say this before Marcel gets deep in the book. Um, I literally was contacted by 10,000 people online who were asking me, just like they asked me to mentor them, Mr. Reed, will you do business with us? I'm like, man, I'm not doing business. I do business with people I know or people I know what they have,
Yep.
right? In other words, they have value that will move me forward, what I'm trying to do. And to be honest, I went into my prayer closet. I believe in prayer. I really do. And this is what I came out with. The community REIT. You know, real estate and development specifically. I'll say that, not just real estate, but development and construction is what I know. Okay. And it I mean, Solomon, it was so simple. I need this many people to do this, and then we're going to do this. That's my door. So that ain't no dogs. But in any event, and then again, Solomon can tell you, we've gone into great detail laying things out. And we actually have a solid plan. Now we're working on the participants. So, but anyway,
So I'll shift this from the book to the community read. You know, we've talked about having a plan and putting everything together. We're going into the participants, right? How do we get people, or how can people join us to get the information and join our meetings? Because there's a lot of things that we talk about outside of this podcast that people are not aware of or they need to be involved. How can we do that?
I think one of the best things, I think the best thing that anyone who wants or would like to be involved in the community to do is to go on the website and read everything on it. Everything on www.thecommunity, read is spelled REIT for those who do not know.com. Go on there and read everything on it. SEC rules, bylaws, everything. Go on there and look. I will say this, so I'm glad you brought that up, even though it's a side. Uh, you know, I've heard a lot about this guy, Jay Morrison. Okay, and when I say heard a lot, everything I've heard was negative. Okay, I can tell you why I think the guy went wrong, but that would be me being presumptuous. Okay, I've been doing this kind of stuff a long time, and I know how to with people. But I'll say the part that I see that Jay Morrison did wrong was that he didn't have connect. He thought he could do everything by himself. He thought he could do everything by himself, and you can, but can you be responsible for everything that's going to happen,
Yeah.
right? And with the community REIT and my background, I understand the perspective of putting barriers between you and obstacles that could become negative. You know, I heard some of his partners online saying that he didn't know how to pivot. Well, maybe he knew how to pivot, he just didn't have access to anything else. You got to have access to deals, which is why we're going to hire a CEO. I am not going to be the CEO of the REIT. So that's a little of that, and we'll expound about that well, we'll talk about the REIT every week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I want to talk more about the book. And if you have any more questions for Marcel, I like and anything you want. Marcel, we're having you on here today because I want you to give as much detail as you can, and specifically the things that you learned from the book. I think it's very important
Okay.
because
Yeah, I could.
I'll tell you why, if you allow me. Um, to me the bigger part of success in the REIT is fixing broken people.
Yeah.
Right? There's so many people walking around with trauma, and the book speaks of trauma and how to address it. First of all, you got to identify it exists. Some of us live in our trauma because the trauma was passed through us. Man, I have. I'm gonna tell you something. Specifically over the last few years, I have seen trauma that if it hasn't destroyed people, it's about to. Trauma will make you do some of the stupidest stuff I have ever seen in my life. Trauma will make everything good in your life go away. Trauma will make or allow or provoke you to push anything positive away in your life.
Yeah.
Your career, your family, your mates, your business. It is an albatross about your neck. It's always pulling on you. Man, from the time I wake up in the morning to the time I go to sleep, my trauma's trying to pull it. And if we're all honest, all of ours do.
Yeah.
But guess what? Everyone on this panel addresses it every day. You're not going to beat me. I'm going to beat you. And like Marcel has said so aptly, it's the progressive steps we take in order to overcome our trauma. Some of us are seeking therapy. All of us seek therapy. Um, you know, and I was telling someone the other day, therapy is your mirror. We're men. Look, we don't need therapy. Yes, we do.
Yeah. Yeah.
We can't see ourselves from the outside. And the people that love us can't tell us. So we need other people to tell us. So before you can really lock in and focus on anything, you have to self-evaluate and see what your traumas are. You also have to address what we call, well, I'm gonna let Marcel tell you what this is, but I'm gonna mention it. We have to address our fences. We have to address our fences. And if you would, Marcel, tell us what we call our fence in the book.
So our fence is basically like, in so many words, it's those people who are there to hold you accountable. Um, Granted, though, not again like in the book. We got a nice little sentence. Everybody who brings a hammer, they supposed to help build you up. Some bring a hammer to tear you down,
Exactly
Yeah.
right.
and
That's good.
I think that's very pivotal of understanding who that is because we've been taught so long. Mr. Reed, I'm finna go in. You ready? All right. We've been taught so long of like it go back to circular reasoning to where stuff has been pushed on us for us to get an understanding of something that was created by somebody else.
Yes.
I think us as black people, we don't really understand that the system we live in is really not for the benefit of us.
No.
And
Say that again.
the system that we live in, it don't really benefit us at all. It
It
never
wasn't
was
meant
for
to.
you to
Yeah.
prosper.
That's right.
And so that even on that also goes within you because it got repercussions. So us thinking we have to live this certain way because we quote unquote been told a lot 99% of it is BS
Yes.
because we're still here.
It
We
don't
still
work
talking
that
about the same stuff. We still
way. Right.
crying about politicians and we still are we arguing about who religion right. When at the end of the day, we live in reality.
That's exactly right.
Reality is the truth.
Yeah.
We can go and talk about all this stuff, not to say that God isn't God and the Holy Spirit isn't the Holy Spirit, but you got to understand the way we've been given, the way we've been given to us is circular reasoning because it was their doing of putting it together
That's
for
right.
you to always go back to where they want you to be at.
Yeah. Yeah.
And anything you want to add, Tom? I know I see you jumping up, sitting up.
Oh,
Go ahead.
Mr. Reed, you know, I have a lot to say about this.
Okay.
I mean, we had a conversation a while back where we talked about that religion has not benefited us from a social, economic, and political standpoint. If you just right now, today, 2025,
Hmm.
you step out of your house, there is absolutely nothing in our social life, our economic life, and our political lives that benefit us that comes from religion.
That's right.
It's not there.
Wow.
You
That's
know,
deep.
the God that we have that's given to us, the Bible, and everything that society is pushing at us does not belong to us.
Nope.
Doesn't benefit anybody.
Nope.
Doesn't benefit the black people. So
It
we're
is not our manifest destiny. It's theirs.
no, it's not.
And look, no knock against white folks.
Mm-hmm.
White folks, we don't have a problem with y'all. But we need our own manifest destiny. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Yep. So we have to get to a point where we need to. A lot of people need to start waking up to the fact that yo, this is not this has nothing to do with us. I need mine. You know, I want
I
mine.
like
I want mine. This has nothing to do with me. It's like okay, cool, that's good, but I need to get mine. You know.
Right. For real.
Yep.
that's good, man. You right.
So it's good. It's good. We because I see a lot of similarities from the book and Art of War. So I don't know if Mr. Reed you want to touch on that and see how those two kind of come in place because there's a saying you always say, we're at war, but we
Yeah,
don't know it.
that's
Yeah.
exactly. We don't.
You know, we don't know it.
We don't. I'm gonna tell you what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna let you. I'm gonna let that statement you just made. I'm
Yeah.
gonna let you explain to the people what that means. We're at
Yep.
war, but we don't know. What does that
Yep.
mean?
We're at war and we don't know because it's evident. You look around, we don't have anything to stand on. You know, we believe that we need to get some type of education. We get the education, and that's it. You know, nothing's benefit us. We keep going around in these circles. We fail to understand that
Yeah,
if you don't know anything, you need to get the education. Once you have the education, you need to have a plan. You need to start figuring
that's
out
right.
what you're gonna do with it.
That's right.
Because going to school and getting degrees and certificates and all that, it's all theory. How
It
do you
is.
put that into actual plan to make sure that you
Where
grow?
does it go? Where does it
Nowhere.
go? Look, in any company, you learn a trade to do what? To
To
do a
advance.
particular job.
Yep.
But that job benefits what? The whole. We're the only group that doesn't recognize that. Okay, bro, you're just an engineer. Get out of here.
Yeah.
You
Right.
make whatever you make, but go ahead. Go ahead. I know you got something to say about Art of War. That's your favorite thing. He loves it.
Yes, yeah. So one of the main laws is the moral law causes people to be in accord with their ruler, so that they will follow him regardless of the lies undismayed by any danger.
Say that one more time.
The moral law causes people to be in accord with their ruler, so that they will follow him regardless of their lives undismayed by any danger. See, us as black people, we still stuck there. We still not understanding the people who very much gave us religion and the system we live in don't even go about themselves in what they've been given us,
That's exactly.
i.e. religion. So and I guess we still have yet to figure that out because us as black people, we feel our way through things. We as we say, Mr. Reed, in our generation, we be peeping stuff. We peep. But yeah, you peep, but it don't go nowhere.
Yep.
In other words, you and Solomon just said the same thing. When you
Uh-huh.
teach, you understand. When you understand, you educate yourself.
Yeah,
But there's no movement because you don't have anywhere to go. More importantly, there are no soldiers standing with you.
yeah,
Yep.
You look around, he over there. You look around, he's over there, she's over here. Husbands and wives aren't together. They separated because the man, the woman, oh, I want to be this, I want to be that. Well, why are white women with their husbands? Why are, and again, this ain't racism, this is reality. This is what exists.
mm-hmm.
Okay. Another thing you gotta understand, I gotta, because I do get into this. I started reading Art of War at 17 years old. Okay, there's a couple of writings I was given, and that's when I was given. Uh, man, I'm gonna tell you something, Marcel. You really get into something when you talk about the moral law. And what's really crazy is when I tell people that they don't want to believe it. They don't want to believe that this was meant to
Right.
confuse you.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not just black people either. But the
Mm-hmm.
thing about it, it doesn't hurt other groups like it hurts black people. Because I don't think, like Marcel, they really accept it. They just say, I got to do this to make the majority accept me. But we take it as the law, and it is our law. So then it does what it was meant to do. There is a next step in art of war. But the greatest part of art of war, you have to understand the ground you're trying to take. You got to understand the ground you're trying to take. And the ground we need to take is financial ground.
Yep.
We need not money, we need wealth. And wealth is relationship. You're not going to find one. You might find some people that say, I got rich. I pulled my stuff up by my bootstraps. But you're not going to find one wealthy person to say that
Mhm.
because wealth is a strategy. Wealth is a strategy. Wealth is a plan. Wealth has processes. Listen to this. Wealth also has a schedule, Solomon. Wealth is on a schedule. Okay? So in the community REIT, we say in 5 to 7 years, this is going to be a $3.7 billion community REIT, a hospitality REIT that builds hotels, not only in the US, but Africa and the rest of the world. Okay? That is our goal. And there's a lot of detail in there. There's a lot of plans, but we have one. Like literally, listen, I'm going to tell you guys something. The words manifest in destiny. Some of y'all don't remember that, but I remember that from, I don't know how I remember this crap, but I remember that from seventh grade. See, we think Columbus and all these other people came over here. Oh, we just want to commune with you. No, that's how they started everything they did. Everywhere they went, they want you to believe they went over and they started scorching earth. No, they didn't. They had to gauge the aptitude, attitude, and perspective of the people.
Yep.
Who are these people? But they always had a plan. The plan is to dominate. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I can't find anything wrong with their plan. They had one.
And it
Now,
worked.
ethically and morally, it's wrong, but obviously they don't care. So
Right.
here's the thing about it. How can you believe a group of people's religion is right when their ethics, morals, and beliefs aren't? I'm confused. And again, this is not a racist rant. This may not even be the perspective of the people now, but it doesn't have to be. They achieved what they sought to achieve.
Yeah.
An acceptable outcome is a positive outcome, correct? So
Correct.
that exists. That being said, we need to have our own manifest destiny. You can only arrive at a place with a plan, a starting point, not an arguing point. We don't need Dr. Dyson and Dr. What is that guy's name? Where they used to get up and talk and use a bunch of words and nobody knew what they meant, but they were what's his
Yeah.
name? Doctor. He was in the Matrix. You got Dr. Dyson and you got Dr. He taught at Harvard. I think he was a black literary teacher. Anyway, he wears the glasses and the weird hat.
I don't know.
I had to look him up. I'll
You
look
know,
him up.
but anyway,
Yeah.
um, we don't need him. We don't need Farrakhan talking anymore. I respect Dr. Farrakhan. I do. I appreciate him talking. I even appreciate him trying to implement. But why does your implementation have to be on the stage? Why are you telling people what you're doing? You don't have to tell them. There's a situation that I'm aware of where he was about to get $1 billion from Gaddafi. Who need to know that? Why does anybody have to approve it? How does anybody even know he's giving it to you? There's nothing wrong with a government giving an American citizen money. He can say it's for anything. Okay, I don't want to go into that, but Marcel know what I'm about to go into.
I know what you're gonna
Marcel,
go.
why about all this talking, man? Why do we have to let everybody know what we're doing? That's a part of art of war too, isn't it?
Yeah.
Tell us about that. I'm gonna let you chime in.
So basically, it's something my grandma say. Basically, don't let one hand know what your other hand doing.
Oh man, I ain't heard that in a long. I haven't heard that since I was a little boy. That's a long time ago.
So it's like Mr. Reed said, a couple TikTok videos. As black people, we got to learn how to shut up.
You know?
Yeah.
Even at the point where I'm honestly working on that too. If I don't know, just be
Right?
let
You want,
go.
you want people to be looking for you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We understand how we're going to do the community read, and nobody's going to know the name of the community read until we know the name. So we want them to know. See,
Just
there are ways that they don't have to know the name of your company. And then there are going to be people internally in the organization that are going to be bound by documents that they can't talk about. As long as we pay our taxes, the
Right.
government can know about it, but nobody else needs to. They need to know that this is a completely black-owned startup. Go ahead, Solomon. I didn't mean to interrupt.
yep, you can finish up, Marcel. Go ahead. And I mean, if you touch upon.
Um, I think that was it, unless we want to go to another point. But I'll let Mr. Reed continue to rock.
So,
I believe that you never tell your enemies what you're doing. Ever. Can I tell y'all something? If you look me up, I had a pretty good career. Okay. In my late 20s, early 30s, I was the top black-owned construction management company. Me and a gentleman by the name of Jason Freeman were in joint venture of a company called Hallmark. Okay, we did nearly $150 million worth of work. Okay, um, but at the same time, I remember a guy that I respected a lot told me we were putting all the paperwork together to get into Black Enterprise. Okay, and he said, Juan, companies that get in there put targets on their back. He said usually by the next year they ought to be. And of course that couldn't happen to me. Guess what? Next year I was out of business. Okay. Um, I learned a valuable lesson. Shut up.
yeah,
Shut up. I don't, you know, here's what's really funny. There are hundreds of thousands of companies in the United States, literally, and in the world. Do you know them all?
no,
ExxonMobil, Chevron, and Microsoft, they're not the only companies in the world, but they're the only ones you hear about. Okay? Nobody has to know what you're doing, man. And you can still make your money, have your same customers. You understand? Once they know about you, they come. We can build a multi-million, billion dollar, company and stay under the radar. If we do it right. And so I believe stealth is very important. Stealth is very important. Your enemies don't know you're coming.
yep, yeah,
Again, I'm gonna go back to the ground, art of war. You have to know what ground you need to take and when you need to take it. What you need to take. Okay? Why are we doing these series and not just discussing the community read? Because we're first a community. And in order to be a strong, successful community, we have to cultivate one another. We have to develop one another and we have to invest in one another. The first thing we have to do is be healthy mentally, physically, and spiritually. The first thing we need to do, again, I'm going to reiterate, is self evaluate. You don't know who you are unless you look at yourself. It's funny to me. I don't know about y'all, but I tell my therapist everything. You know why? Because if I don't, you don't know me. What I'm hiding from my therapist keeps me sick. Think about it. So you know who your first therapist is? The first therapist is you. It ain't your pastor.
yep,
It ain't your best cousin like Marcel got. It ain't your grandmother. It's you. So if you don't tell yourself the truth, my auntie had a saying. Now I'm gonna quote my Aunt Agnes. Aunt Agnes is one of the wisest people I know, even though she probably might not be very educated. She used to have a saying: "If you ain't ish, you know you ain't ish. Ain't nobody got to tell you."
Yeah.
And when I wasn't ish, I knew I would.
Do it. Yep. Yep.
Where am I going to move from, Marcel, if I don't have a starting point?
Yep.
Right? So my starting point is me. So why are we talking about our experiences in life and different perspectives and my, I'm going to say me and Marcel's book? We're talking about it because it's going to help people find who they are. It is, uh, Marcel calls it a call to action. That's it. I can't hear any more appropriate statement. It's a call to action. What you gonna do? What you gonna do? They call these young men YNs, and I know why they call them that. Be crazy, okay? But they have all the potential and energy in the world
Mhm.
because of that craziness. So if we could direct them next, we can make them rich. We can make them abundant, but more importantly, we can make them aware. So that's all I gotta say, guys. Uh, I'm gonna let Solomon close out. Solomon,
Yep.
you close it out, man.
Yep. Before we close out, Mr. Reed, I just noticed that we've talked about this book for almost an hour, and people don't know where to get it from or how to get it. If it's gonna
Well,
be a hard copy, if it's gonna be an
well,
ebook,
we're gonna do both, but we're gonna
do both.
start on
Okay.
Monday. We're gonna do what do you call it? What do you call it? Marcel?
Ebook.
Yeah, we're gonna ebook it first,
Hmm.
and then we're gonna get some hard copies as well. Uh, that's gonna happen. It's gonna be out in about 2 weeks.
Okay.
No matter what, it's gonna be out in 2 weeks, and we're gonna make the solidified announcement next week. Give the exact date. So I appreciate that question. I'm excited. It gives you know it kind of gives. Correct me if I'm wrong, Marcel, but it kind of gives young people and older people the framework to not only the framework to see the world, but also how to address it. I believe
Yeah.
that. I believe that in reading this book, you can knock on doors in wealth, spiritualism, uh, life,
Mhm.
politics.
Yep.
It's a way to move it. You know, I'd like to think I'm an expert at how to move. Um, I am. I tell people this, and both you guys can attest to this. I'm a hell of a troubleshooter. When you're in the middle of something, you know,
Mhm.
and that's a mentor. A mentor isn't somebody that gives grand speeches. Sometimes I say, Solomon, look, man, you know, it's not Solomon. You did no, bro. That takes too much energy. And then when you got to do that, then I don't know you. A mentor knows his mentee, right? Look, Solomon was going through this. Hey, man, that looked good. But what I had to do myself is get him to look at him. So I got to do that for a while because I know my mentee. I have to let me keep trying until I don't. Then I say, okay, he's strong. Now I can let him know. And when I let him know, I know he's prepared for what's next. But that book will allow you to mitigate problems and see it from a lens. I had a mentee that called me the other day, Mr. Reed, thank you, because I know how to see the world now. One day it just clicked. This is a guy that didn't graduate from Harvard, but runs a business. But he couldn't get the value out of the people around him, right? Because they didn't see value in him. They only saw him one way: do what I need, do what I pay you to do, and then
Yeah.
get out of my face, right? So he had to learn to be well rounded. So he had to go places that made him feel uncomfortable until he felt comfortable. You can only know, I told you this today, Marcel, you can only know something new by going somewhere you've never been. You can't learn anything new standing in the same place. I'm going to stay right here and I'm going to learn everything I need to learn. You're going to be waiting a long time because ain't nobody coming, right? Lord, send a professor in economics to teach. Bruh, the Lord said, man, U of H right around the
Go figure it out.
yeah. They gonna, give you kind of, professors talk to you, right?
Hmm.
So anyway, that's all I got to say, man. Thank you guys for another great episode. Um, it's been marvelous, brother. Thank you. Thank you guys for being a part of my book, and thank you guys for being a part of the community reach. We look forward to all you guys being a part of community reach, and we're gonna keep doing these podcasts every week. And God bless you and have a good day.